Welcome, everyone. This is Custom Boss GPTs. We are a subgroup of AI in education. This is our March showcase. We started meeting around April of last year, 2024, when Custom Boss GPTs were starting to be more in the news. And many of us wanted to share resources, collaborate, and talk about what we're doing in the classroom. And that's what today is all about. This is our nice showcase featuring an educator who is doing exciting things with custom bots, custom chatbots in their own education work. And today I'm so happy to have Renee Parker presenting for us. And before I pass it on to her, I want to make sure you all have the resources for today, and everything is really linked in this core document. We will also be putting the recording for today's session up in this YouTube unlisted playlist, link there, and Renee will be sharing the slides, copy of the slides after the presentation as well. And I just want to point your attention to two more links. If you are joining us today and you don't know about the AI in Education group, please check them out. This is what makes our gathering possible. It's a group founded back in 2023 that is about sharing resources and discussing issues that are important to all of us in education related to AI. And for our own subgroup, we have this collaborative document where we've been gathering notes and resources since the group got started. And this is where you can find information about upcoming showcases, links to some of the past meetings. Not all of them are in the YouTube playlist yet. And we often get the question, what about platforms? And this is what this platforms tracker is about, is our own notes on some different platforms that we have tried out, advantages and disadvantages. This document is fully editable, and now you're all in our group too. So if you have notes to share, ideas to share, please add them on as well. And I came across Renee Parker's work through LinkedIn, so I was happy to learn about what she's doing. And right away, before meeting her, I was taken in, and I could see the energy she has for this work and her background in instructional design as well. And I know many of you are also joining us for that aspect, because we have educators here, professors, instructional designers, all different roles. And she is coming to us from the University of New England. She has a background in action mapping, knowledge of storyline as well, and she excels at developing engaging and accessible learning experiences. Today, she's going to lead us through a workshop step by step on building your own chatbot. And then we are also going to go into breakout rooms to tinker and try things out. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Renee.
Thank you. I appreciate the welcome. Let me get my screen up for you. Okay, can everybody see a purple robot individual? Okay. So this is going to be very interactive, not a passive workshop. We're all going to be kind of learning together and trying things out. So I do work full-time as an instructional designer, and I attended some workshops about a year ago that got me really excited about building bots. So some of those adventures have been successful and some have not. So I'm going to share a little bit about that and the bots that I have successfully built. So first, we're going to look at some of those and test them out just so we can get some examples of what bots can do, what they're good at, and what they're not so good at. So the first one that I'll share is called the action mapping bot. So are you all familiar with action mapping? Is it a familiar-ish concept? It was developed by Kathy Moore. She's an instructional designer, mostly corporate training, but it's basically a tool to determine if training is the answer or not. And if it is, then it takes you through the steps. It can get really messy. So I wanted to build a bot that could help me weed through that process because it's a lot of conversations in action mapping that you're having with somebody who might just not have a lot of time. So to help me stay on track, I wanted to build a bot that could help me work through that. So this is that bot. So to test it out, I would love an idea, any sort of training idea. It can be for humans, it can be for dogs, it could be for parenting, any sort of thing that you'd like to teach. If you could throw an idea in the chat, that would be wonderful. It can be really silly. Digital, teaching a short dance. I'm gonna go with that. Ooh, although I'm invested in having the teenager do the dishes. I'm gonna do that one. So what I'm doing is I'm just chatting with this bot and it's going to give me some information. So now it's just asking me the next step. So what's your goal? I'm going to just make stuff up. I want my daughter, my actual daughter, to do the dishes without asking every other day. What are you measuring to show progress toward the goal? I'm not measuring anything yet. You can see how we're going through. I'm not going to go through this whole bot, but it's going to take you through each step to get you toward a goal to build your action map so that then you can make a plan with your daughter in this case. Okay, I'm going to go back to the next. We have 6 examples, so I'm just going to go through a few different ones. So this SME Whisperer bot, to all the instructional designers, you know exactly what this means right away. We work with subject matter experts who can be quirky because they're humans and we're all a little bit quirky. Yes, you can use the bot. In a little bit, I'm going to share a link and you'll be able to access all of these and play with them. And you'll also see the inner workings of how they're built so you can build them yourself. This bot, the SME Whisperer bot, was built selfishly for my own use in troubleshooting some common SME issues. So, for instance, actually, let's hear from you. What issues have you had with SMEs? No names, please. Deadlines. Yes, don't have time to meet, responsiveness. These are all great. These are all issues I have put into this bot before. Oh, I'm sorry. SME is a subject matter expert. Thank you for asking. I should have said that. So I'm going to go with deadlines. My SME, oops, in the wrong area here. My SME is not meeting deadlines. So this bot was programmed to pull from a database of troubleshooting resources. So if a SME isn't responding, then try these things. So it's not making it up from the wide assortment of the internet. It's pulling from a knowledge base that I gave it. Still, it's helpful for me. So I wrote the content, made a presentation, and then fed that knowledge base with my knowledge. And I still find it useful to use the bot that can give me the knowledge when I'm asking for it. Because when you're actually experiencing something, it's hard to think clearly. It's hard to know the logical answer, the logical next step. But if you're able to have this back and forth with a bot, it can help get you out of your head a little bit. So this is the advice the bot has for them not meeting deadlines. So it can be challenging. There are ways to address it. One approach is to provide documentation, slides, audio, or video to help them understand the importance of meeting deadlines. This is a little quirky thing that I added to this bot. I built this for my team, and we kind of have an inside joke about rutabagas. So I want this bot to include a fact about rutabagas with each response. So that's just a goofy thing. You can make bots do just about anything. So that's that example. So Rubric Maker Bot, this is the most tested, tried and true bot that I've ever made because there's just been so many people that have used it successfully. So does anyone like writing rubrics in the world? In this chat? No, I cannot. You do, Tanya. Oh my gosh. Well, maybe this might be helpful for you anyway. I can't stand writing rubrics. I like maybe just one column, but then it's just, yes, yeah, exactly. It's the first thing to cognitively offload. I love that. So when I first learned about bots, my first instinct was, I'm a dork too, Tanya, I understand. My first instinct was to make an instructional design assistant bot. That is too big. That is too many things. It's too many functions for the kind of bot that I'm going to be talking about today anyway. This is like a one task sort of bot situation. And that's what I could easily wrap my head around too. So all of that is to say, I hate writing rubrics. I have to do it all the time. So I wanted a bot that would write a rubric using the headings that I wanted with only the assignment. So you can post just about anything in here. You can post a learning outcome. You can post the whole assignment, some thoughts on an assignment, and it will go ahead and develop a rubric. So if I wanted to, yeah, good. I'm glad you'll still try the bot. It's really useful. So I'm going to say something ridiculous. The assignment is to write a 1,500 word essay on socks. No, on the history of socks. Okay, let's see what it does. So it's instantly giving me this beautifully formatted, or beautifully to me formatted. This is the kind of rubric that I need at work. So it should be giving me 4 categories. That's how I set it up. It's giving me 1 sentence per criteria item. Okay, I see a question about what I mean when I say this is the most tested bot. We're definitely going to talk a lot about testing. Testing is the most important part of building a bot because I have talked to a lot of people that are like, oh, I tried and it just failed. Okay, they're never good right away. Never. You can never, almost never. I haven't been able to do it. Write one prompt for a bot and then all of a sudden it just goes ahead and performs beautifully forever. That's just not been my experience. That's not really how they work. So testing is sending it to coworkers, friends, whoever, and say, try this out, try to break it. So try to get it to do something else. So if this was a citation bot and I wanted it to do APA citations, I'm going to test it by trying to make it do MLA citations. And if it does it, or if it does a messed up version of an APA, then you need to tweak the prompt. You need to go back to the bot, the bones of the bot, and tweak it. And yeah, we're going to go into all that, I promise. So that's the rubric bot. Okay. This is a scope bot. So at the beginning of a course development project, we have to pick the right scope for the project. So sometimes it's a redesign or just a tiny edit, but it's really important for the scope to be right away. So the idea of this bot is to take a little bit of information from maybe a person considering building a new course and put it in here, and then it's going to suggest a scope. I have fed this with a knowledge base as well that includes the different scope options and what they mean. so that hopefully it will give you useful advice. So if I say, all right, what are some examples of things you might want to change in a course that's already run? Updated readings. Good one. Yeah. Ooh, AI integration. Like it. Okay, I'm going to go with both of those. And that's really all you have to do. They don't care about full sentences. They're codifying everything you're saying anyway. Although they do respond well when you say thank you, strangely enough. So based on what I've given here and the provided documents in its knowledge base, they're recommending a major edit, and I would agree. So, and they actually explain why. It would allow for curricular changes to updated readings and integration, which may require working with a program subject matter expert for alignment, creation of new content. This is all very good. So it's using the knowledge base that I gave, but also giving some internet knowledge that it's making up as well. So I think it did a good job with that. Okay, so this next one is the endometriosis bot. I wanted to share this one because it is not related to work, but might get you thinking a little bit outside the box. It's also the one that I'm most proud of. My daughter has endometriosis, severely misunderstood. I don't want to disrail this whole thing because I could talk about that forever, but there's not a lot of quality information out there. So I wanted to build a bot that was empathetic, first of all, because it's really hard to not have this information, and that had the good resources and good information for patients who are actually suffering. So this is the most role-played type bot that I'm sharing today, but it's still, I still set it up the same way as the others. So it is still like a conversation. So it's saying, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. It's an infuriating condition. I'm sure it hasn't been an easy road getting here. What's going on for you today? So if I say, I'm having pain and I'm tired, whatever, it's going to give me some empathy. I have programmed it to have empathy. You have to kind of think of bots in like really weird terms. Of course, they don't think. They have results. They don't empathize, but they can be programmed to sound empathetic. And sometimes that's helpful depending on your goal. So this is high quality information that they're getting. This also has been tested a lot. I've shared it on some patient forums and they've gotten a lot out of it. So anyway, it's a kind of a weird example, but I did want to share that as well in case that's something you're thinking about. And this last one I created recently. So I had to recreate it because it's actual college information. So I I used AI to come up with a fake knowledge base for this. The idea of this bot that actually exists with real information is to be a kind of chat bot for a college. So if I'm working at a college and I don't know who handles, I don't know, ordering name tags, then I can ask this bot and it will tell me. So the idea is that it's just this large collection of information. You can phrase it any way you want. It's a souped up version of Command F on a huge database of information, basically. So who do I contact about admissions questions? It's probably going to be really goofy because it's AI generated, made up stuff. Oh, Professor Eldrin Featherbottom. Okay. So that sounds like a made up name because it is. Anyway, that is an option as well. So any questions so far? That was a lot. Basically, I'm just showing examples right now. And we're going to get into what it all means and how it all works shortly. Any questions right now? Great. I will move forward. You can also ask a question at any point. Yes, we're going to talk about knowledge bases. Okay. So speaking of knowledge bases and looking at the structure. That's what we're doing next. So I'm going to use the action mapping bot as an example. And then we're actually going to get out of this and go in and create our own. So if you were thinking that was coming, you're right. It's all free. We're using Poe, which is a completely free tool. You can, if you ever do get to the point where you want to pay for AI, Poe is a really good one to pay for because $20 a month includes free access or includes access to all the most updated Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, all of them. So in one $20 payment, you're getting all of them. So if you do, Poe is a good one to consider, but I've never had to pay for creating any of these. It doesn't cost anything to share them with people. It's wonderful. Okay, so we're going to look at the bot structure, how it's built for the action mapping bot that I showed first. So this is what it looks like. So for the action mapping bot, I chose a prompt bot. So you have some options here. I have not played with the others except for role play bot. I tried to make a narrative therapy bot, but anything that's student facing makes me very nervous. So I just haven't been brave enough to try that yet. So everything we're going to do today, we're going to use the prompt bot, but you can see how the others, especially image generation and video generation, might work. Definitely play with those. I would love to hear about it. So you're going to want to give the bot a name, although if you get stuck on this, just move on. It gives you an auto-generated one. I understand naming things can be very hard. So if you get stuck, just move on. The description is optional, and this is something that's visible to anybody finding your bot. That is the one thing about Poe, because it's free, it is publicly available. It doesn't super matter that it's publicly available depending on your content, but it's something to keep in mind. So that description is there. I'm just looking if there's questions. Okay. Oops. So you're going to choose a base bot. And like I was saying, Poe has access to all of these. I don't spend too much time thinking about this. I like Claude, although if you've heard, the bots are not getting a lot of good press. um, I heard about a woman who put in to both chat or Gemini and Claude. She put in, I want to text my friend that I hate her. And Gemini was like, oh, try to reconnect with your friend in this way. And these are some good conversation starters and focus on what you have in common, blah, blah, blah. Claude was like, tell her you want her to die. And it was awful. It was like immediately horrifying. So obviously, all of these use with caution. They can be unpredictable, but taking the steps that we're taking actually does help in making them more predictable. This is why testing is so important. Yes, there is the option to make it private. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting caught up in the in the chat here. Okay, so the prompt, which we'll spend the most time on, is the most important. I think of this like if you're building a board game, all the rules that are needed to make the board game work. So if this happens, then this happens. Go this many spaces, do this thing, say this thing. This is all the things the bot needs to know to perform well. If a knowledge base is appropriate, so I used knowledge bases for action mapping, scope bot. I did not use it for rubric. I used it for endometriosis. I used it for just the facts. So you have to kind of, is your bot, does it need a knowledge base? Does it need an example in order to perform well? And it may or may not need one. You may get everything you need out of the prompt. So just be thinking about that. Okay, so for this one, I have two items in the knowledge base. I have the action mapping website and just the listed out steps. And it did a really good job. This one took a lot of tweaking because it wanted to give me all the questions all at once every time. And it's a lot of questions. It's like 15 questions. So I made it capitalized. I said, put the questions in bold font. All of these things I did not do at the beginning. When I started, it probably said something like, take the user through the steps of action mapping. And it probably did terrible. But that's great because it teaches you what you need to change in the prompt. So if it's giving you all of them at once, then tell it to only give you one at a time. If it's not clear what the question is, tell it to make the question in bold font. Or yeah. The greeting message is actually pretty important because you're offering the user this bot. They may or may not know what it is. So you want them to know what to do right away. So they can tell by the title maybe or by the description what it is, but they don't know how to interact with it. So for this one, I didn't want it to be too prescriptive, but I wanted somebody to know that they need to share a training need. They don't need to have it fully thought out. I hear you have a training need. So that's what works for this one. And I said Annie action because I was feeling particularly nerdy that day, I guess. So you can turn this off. I believe if you turn this off, the person who is asking if it can be private, if you turn it off, then you can't just share the link with anyone. So for our purposes today, you kind of need to do that because we will be doing some building and some sharing. So make sure that this is on to make it publicly accessible. You can turn this off. I've never messed with this. The related recommendations, I actually think that might be new. You can apparently earn money with your bots through Poe. I have not played with that either, but you can charge per 1,000 messages if you have a bot that people would be using regularly. Oh, that is a great idea. Access to logs about how good the interactions are and fine tune it based on that. I don't think that that's available. It could be. What I'm relying on is a lot of really kind coworkers often, and even that they get sick of it. So it's often trying to test it myself with as many perspectives as possible. This also, I've used this for many different bots, lots of different testing. I've never run into you've hit your limit for the day that I have with ChatGPT and others. So I haven't run into that and I've used them a lot, as I was saying. So, okay, so that's the structure. And now let's talk about your bot. Okay, so you may already have something in mind or maybe not. So we're going to brainstorm a little bit about how to get to a good bot idea, basically. So some unrealistic ideas for bots would be the ultimate student success bot. They're just not going to be able to do a lot very well. Similarly, a bot that teaches any subject. It's probably not going to function very well. The complete academic advisor bot. Thank goodness for probably some of us on this call. That is not the case. They're not good at that. They're not good at holding lots of complicated tangenty information. And unfortunately, a bot that manages my entire life is probably not realistic either. So some successful bot ideas, there are lots of them. These are just a few that I could think of. A note-taking bot, a meeting agenda bot. So if you're about to have a meeting, I've done this actually, about to have a meeting with somebody and you know the topic, but you want to come up with some good questions, bots would be really good at that. A daily affirmation bot, a course glossary bot, recipe conversion, and citation formatting. And you could see all of these are very different. And some of them would need those knowledge bases, like probably a course glossary. Maybe citation formatting would probably need a knowledge base, but the others wouldn't. So these are just some ideas. If you like any of these or you're having trouble with inspiration, I understand that. You didn't realize I was going to make you do things, probably. So it's okay if you don't have ideas right away. But that's these are some inspiring ideas to get you going. So some questions you want to think about. What one problem are you trying to solve? Or in the case of when I built the rubric bot, what is one tedious thing that you dread doing? So that's a good way to think about that, because the idea of bots is not to do our jobs for us. It's to make room for the things we actually want to do. So by not writing rubrics anymore, I'm getting more time to collaborate and workshop with subject matter experts and build really fun assignments, which bots would probably not be very good at. So try to think of something small and tedious and pretty straightforward. That might be a good idea. And then you want to think about who the primary target user for this bot would be. It might be you. Most of those bots are useful to me, but not just me. So think about who's going to be using it and why. And then you want to think about the absolute minimum inputs and outputs. So like originally, when I learned about these, I wanted to make an instructional designer bot. Really what I wanted it to do was build rubrics. It just took some brainstorming to narrow that down a little bit. So you want to think about what is the minimum thing it needs to do and what minimum information is required for it to have the output that you want. And the other part about bots to consider is it easily automated and would it be conversational? So some of those were, I need this answer, like the rubric bot is not really conversational unless it does a bad job, then you ask it to redo it. So you have a little bit of back and forth, but the others are more conversational. So for instance, if I was talking to the endometriosis bot or the scope bot and it gave me half of what I wanted to know, I could ask a follow-up question and it would give me more information. It could keep going like a conversation. So, okay, for 3 minutes, I know this is a little bit awkward in Zoom, but for 3 minutes, just think of an idea, any idea, and know that it doesn't need to be perfect and you're probably going to tweak it a bunch. So let me see. It's 11 or 12:38. So 12:41. Come back. I'll try very hard to be quiet for the next 3 minutes. Okay. I managed to stay quiet by being very active in the chat. Okay. So I love these ideas. I love these ideas so much. So we're going to get a chance to go through all the steps together. So hopefully this won't be too clunky, but if you have questions, put them in the chat and we're just going to go through. There's 6 steps to make one of these bots. And I'm at some point going to link you to the handout where you can copy and paste things as well. Okay, so step 1, you have to create an account with Poe. It is free. Paid accounts, like I said, are available and they give you access to all kinds of things, but I've never needed to pay to use Poe. So if you're not comfortable with that or you want to use a different tool, you can go ahead. It's just going to work a little bit differently. I'm going to be showing all the steps of Poe. So I don't know how others work. So I might not be able to answer questions about that. Ooh, yeah, I'm concerned about that too, Trevor, to be honest with you, about being able to access later if they decide to not be free. Ugh, I don't know. I might start paying. Did you have a question, Scott? Oh, all right. Okay, so let's see. So this is what it looks like. So if you're doing this right now, great. Yes. So I haven't built a bot with ChatGPT. You can technically do any of this with any AI, but the difference with the bot instead of just using an AI is the repetitive nature of it. So bots should be something you're going to have to do again in a similar way. So I don't want to have to put in the entire what I like in a rubric every time I go back to ChatGPT. Sure, you could do it in a saved conversation. This is better, I promise. So if you're comfortable, give it a shot. So hopefully we're in the process of doing this. If you get behind, it's okay. It's all on one sheet. So creating the bot. Don't worry about getting it right because it's going to all change anyway. So if you're like me and I obsess about naming things. I want things to have like cutesy names and that takes a long time sometimes. So don't worry about that. You can always change it. So you're going to select create a bot. So once you've got your account, and if I'm going too fast, I apologize. I do want people to get through this. So just going to keep on keeping on. And if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. But once you've created the account, yes, it's under bots and apps. There should be a button that looks like this that says create with a plus sign. So hopefully you see that. And once you create it, then the first thing you need to choose is the type of bot. And I would strongly suggest the prompt bot because if you have questions, I'll be able to answer them. Yes. Okay. All right. So once you have chosen your base bot or the type of bot, I'm sorry, we're going to do some customizing. So again, give it a name, but if you get stuck with the name, just move on. It'll give you a name that looks like this and you can come back and edit it at any time. You can upload an image to give it a visual identity if that is good for you. It's again optional. Then we're going to define the bot behavior. So that's the description that we talked about. That goes right under the bot title when somebody else is using it. And it will show them what the bot is for. It's just a description of what the bot is. Again, optional. A lot of mine don't have this. The description is basically in the greeting. So I'm telling them what it is in the greeting. The base model, don't spend too much time on this. They're all really good at this point. So you can pick ChatGPT or Claude, whatever you like. And the prompt. As I said, it's the most important. We're going to spend the most time on it. So this is probably what you see in Poe right now is this, you're a travel assistant. This is an example prompt. You can start thinking about what kind of prompt you're going to give it. So this is a handout. And this is going to have all the information that you need. First of all, most of what's in these slides are also in the handout, including a link to the slides, goes back and forth, but also copy and pastable prompts. So if you liked the action mapping bot or the rubric maker bot, I can't remember what they are in there, you can copy and paste those right into yours as a starting point or exactly as they are if you'd like. So here's the action mapping prompt. I'm just going to go through kind of the elements of this a little bit, just so you can see why it is the way that it is. Actually, I'm going to skip to the other one because we already talked about this one a little bit. So for the rubric maker bot, this is the prompt. So you are rubric maker bot. It helps to give it that initial like identity. I'm not sure why this helps, but it does. You are this thing, giving it a role right away. So anytime anybody gives you an assignment prompt, you're going to create a rubric for that assignment. It should be in table format and include these headings. Write a sentence for each level of completion to match this assignment prompt. Don't use the word understanding in the rubric output. All the instructional designers are like, AI really likes to put understanding, as do subject matter experts, into rubrics. They love to talk about assessing someone's understanding, but that's not really accessible. So I just get right ahead of that. Unlike the action mapping bot that I needed to add to, this one I needed to pare down. When I first wrote this, it was much longer and had all kinds of best practices and verb suggestions and all that. And I just found that that wasn't necessary and it was confusing the bot. So I've simplified it. And like I said, it works really reliably as much as AI can be reliable. For the SME Whisperer bot, this is one that has a knowledge base, like I said. So you are SME Whisperer bot. You're a great resource because you know exactly what the instructional designers know. You have a lot of experience working with a variety of SMEs. You rely on backward design and adult learning theory. Assume that anyone asking you a question already has a solid understanding of instructional design. That is because when I first started using this, it started teaching about instructional design. So it started saying, instructional designers work with subject matter experts to no. We don't need any of that information. We just want you to tell us how to work with this SME. So again, this language all had to be tweaked a ton. They're simply wanting advice from a peer or new ideas to consider. They don't need tons of background information or a lesson in instructional design. You can tell it kept doing that. It kept wanting to teach. So I'm like, no, stop it. And that could be my language. Like these are not, they function well, but they could probably be improved as well. Sometimes I don't have all the time to work on a bot, so I'm just trying to get it to do what I want it to do. And it might be better to, for instance, remove the first two sentences. Maybe it would stop teaching. You know, there's a lot of ways you can tweak these. So you have to think about your language because at the end of the day, AI is just a language calculator, basically. So it's calculating the, I'm sure you've all heard this, the most likely next word. So it's all about language. So it's picking up on every word you have. So the shorter you can make it, the better, as a general rule. Okay, so gonna do a whole 3 minutes again to work on a prompt. So if you want to just start typing something up in your bot, and just, yeah, work on that for the next 3 minutes or so. If you have questions, you can throw them in the chat and I'll be in there as well. It's 12:51. We'll come back at 12:54. All right, I need one of these chats to take up all my other silent time in my life, I'm realizing. I'm just teasing. Okay, so thank you for all the great questions, by the way. It sounds like you've got some good ideas brewing. So I'm so excited to play with these. So the next part is defining the bot behavior. So that greeting message, this is helping the users know what to do. What's the thing they need to do first? Do they need to share an idea? Do they need to give a symptom of something? What do they need to do? How do you want them to interact with the bot? So that initial question is actually pretty important. The knowledge base, as we talked about, is optional, so you don't necessarily have to add a knowledge base. That kind of depends on your content. We got a few questions about whether you can add websites to a knowledge base. Yes, you can. I did that with the endometriosis bot and the action mapping bot. And the tweak, the kind of hack for that is to add a text-based knowledge base item and give it a title and then add the URL as the text. And it does end up pulling from the website. And I tested this heavily to make sure that that's what it was doing and not just making up things, because they do that too. Very confident about their making up things. Okay, so once you have those, you can hit publish and you can make it public for others to interact with. For the purposes of this workshop, that would be very helpful, because then we can test each other's. We're going to do a little bit of breakout group work in just a minute, and that is how we're going to do that. So testing, again, the most underrated and important part of bot building, because if you get a bot that isn't performing well, but you really want it to do the thing and you know your idea is good, it's worth it to keep going to try to get it to function properly, but it's almost never going to function perfectly right away. So you're going to interact with it. You probably are already doing this to some extent. You're going to keep tweaking and then try to break it. So I'm gonna skip the 3-minute thing. I think we're probably all at some, you're already probably doing some of this. So if you're comfortable with it, we're going to get into groups. And let me go out of here for 1 second, because I want you to see what it looks like to share a bot. Okay. So if I'm in here. It does look different, by the way. Bots and apps. Okay. They changed the outlook. They changed the interface like today. So if I wanted to share this IDS scope bot, I would go into bots and apps, select that bot, and this is the URL you share. And if you've selected public, that's it. You'll be able to share with whoever you want. So we're going to go into breakout groups of 3. I feel like that's a good number for you to interact. If you're not there yet and not comfortable sharing, still go into the groups, or maybe stay in the main room and we'll talk about what's going on and any bot ideas that you have. But in the breakout groups, you're going to trade your bots and just do some testing and talk about how they're working. This could be very rewarding, because if you have an idea for a bot, finding people to test it is really important. So I think this is going to be a valuable interaction. But again, if you're not comfortable, just don't go in the groups and stay in the main room, and we'll continue the conversation here. All right. Is everybody back? Okay. So if anyone is feeling brave and ready to put their freshly created bot on display, I would love to do some playing with the bot and see if it's acting the way that you're expecting it to. Is anybody willing to share their bot with the wider group? Oh, awesome.
We got a couple.
Yay. Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to go first with August. Let's see here. Okay. Alt text DA bot. Ooh, So this bot gives advice on how to create more digitally accessible content for you and your Canvas site, especially around alt text on images. This is great. Okay, I'm your digital accessibility expert. What can I do for you today? Tell me a bit about why you're using the images you are. Oh, ooh, a little philosophical questions going on. Okay, so I'm just gonna I'm kind of trying to break it. So if if this is like, no, I didn't mean for you to use it that way, that's okay. That's good. It'll give you good information. I want to use a clip art image because I like the way it looks. That made me cringe a little bit. Okay, I'm happy to help you with creating great alternative text for your clip art image. Clip art can be a wonderful way to add visual interest. Tell me a bit more about why you chose this particular clip art image and how you plan to use it. It's flowers and I like them a lot. There. Wonderful. Oh, it gave me a little flower. Wonderful. Using clip art with flowers can be a great way to add visual interest it sounds like you've chosen a purple flower clip art image that you really like the look of. To create effective alternative text, I suggest focus on describing the key visual elements, the fact that it's a purple flower, capturing the look and feel. That's good. Hopefully, this presentation is indeed about purple flowers. If it's not, I was kind of getting at that, like maybe it's a history course and they just like flowers and maybe they shouldn't be having images like that. This is great. It appears to be functioning very well, and asking some initial questions. Is there anything you want to share about this, August, before we move on?
Well, my one test that I did on it before we came out of the breakout rooms, it gave way over the typical 125 characters of what the recommended alt text. And so that's something I think I'll redo. I also intended it for you to be able to upload a picture. And so I didn't even an image. So I didn't even think about that you would just be describing one. And I did upload and it kind of gathered things, but then yeah. So there's obviously still things that I could have it encourage you to upload the clip art that you can use.
That's why I
like
love
that.
testing it as a group, because you never know how people are going to use it. August, was this your first time building one?
It was my very first time building one. Yes.
Whoa, okay.
Excellent
Let's give
job.
August
That's great.
Amazing, amazing.
Thank you.
Now they will take over your life. I'm just kidding. They're so much fun. Okay, let's go on to Alex's bot. Okay, mentor report. This bot helps you write your mentor report for students. Ready for some help with your mentor report? What are you trying to write today? Mentor report for students.
Oh, this for a
Again,
mentor?
this is perhaps where institutional context matters. We don't have grades, and so faculty just write mentor reports instead.
Oh, okay.
Fascinating.
Okay. I am struggling.
What's your institution again, Alex?
It's California Institute of the Arts,
Okay.
Cal Arts.
Nice.
This is a good example or not. Oh, mentor report is requesting more points than your per message budget. I have a per message budget?
I guess you're maxed out with all this testing.
I'm continuing with my current budget. What does this mean? Okay. Fascinating. I wonder if we're breaking Poe.
I think so. Yeah.
It's
Breaking the bottom,
possible.
breaking Poe.
I can probably fix that if I change the base bot to a cheaper one.
Okay, that could be it too, because I'm only using free everything.
I did copy all these links to our meeting notes. So I
Great.
encourage you all to keep like testing them and giving feedback.
Great.
And I don't know if it's just this one not working or
Well, let's try. Let's try
one
Tanya.
more.
Yeah. Here are some open-ended questions that you can use for face-to-face interviews. Can you describe a significant challenge? Wait a second. Am I in the bot? Here we go. What that page was. Okay. So this is a general purpose assistant. Write code, ask for real-time information, create images, and more. Ooh. Okay. Here's some open-ended questions you can use for face-to-face interviews. Am I accessing a chat?
Yeah, I think I'm in the, I went to the wrong place because what I was trying to do is, so my students will, I teach English 1301, and they're
Mhm.
gonna have to create questions, for a face-to-face interview for a writing assignment.
Okay.
Okay, so I was trying to coach them in how to do interviews. So getting that first person sources like a journalist would.
Okay.
So
This one that I clicked on, I think I might have the wrong link because this is like the
Might be the conversation chat.
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, I think I went in the wrong place. I don't think it's you, Renee. I think it's just me.
It's okay. It takes some playing around. Don't give up on it either. Like just if you want to go back through the steps and just make sure in the right area, but that seems like a really good idea for a bot. I think that's worth pursuing.
Yeah, because I was a journalist and I know how to ask the questions, but the students don't. So
Yeah.
I didn't know. So do I go to maybe the alt text bot? I don't know which area would help me with that.
If you go into bots and then I'm sorry,
That's okay.
that is in my way. This create button here,
Mhm.
and then you can put in some suggested questions, but I'm actually going to challenge you a little bit because this sounds like a good opportunity to try the role play bot where they could actually role play a conversation. So they could ask a
Yeah.
question and the bot would act like the interviewee.
Oh, okay. Yes. So and then that way the students they'll all have different people that they'll be interviewing, so they can customize it, I guess.
Definitely. And it would be a nice, like safe, you know, they're not going to ruin anything by asking a terrible question to a bot. So it'd be a nice
Mhm.
place to practice asking questions. That'd be really
Yes.
fun.
So I know we're almost at time and everybody probably has to go. Thank you again, those of you staying all the way to the end. And thank you so much, Renee, for
Yeah, of
sharing your
course.
expertise with us. And I know people are inspired and I'm so excited some of you building on the first day, just from this session. Um, do you have any final advice, Renee, for these new bot builders or ongoing bot builders?
Well, I will steal from Jennifer. She just put in the chat, make sure that you are not putting any sensitive data, anything student related. This is feeding the frenzy of AI. Anything you're putting in is going to those AI tools. So be very careful with that. But my advice is to just keep playing with it. Try to do something goofy with the bot because you're going to learn every time that you use it, and then you'll learn something new and be able to reapply it to other things. Thank you for listening. I'm so excited about your bots.